Hey guys, welcome back to another order opening with the Mountain Bike Shed. You can shop online at mtbshed.com, or easy enough, just hit the like button and subscribe. Helps us out a ton. Today we're going to be going through an order that came in last week, mainly focusing on brake pads and kind of going through the differences maybe between some of those compounds. And then I've also got some bearings in here as well, so some headset stuff. We do have videos on the channel. Again, if you subscribe, you'll be able to see those videos. We go through how to change your pads. It's a very easy process, so check that out. Take care of that if you need to. This video will help you maybe decide what compound you're going to get when you do change those pads. And then also we show you how to change your headset bearing. So both really easy processes that maybe if no one's ever showed you, you don't realize that you can be doing and should be part of regular maintenance of your bike. So we'll jump right into it. First off, as always, road grip. So these things, again, these have been hotcakes here in the shop. Everybody wants some. We've got a lot of different grips here at the shop. But the Rogues are the grip that everybody wants. So everybody tries everything out. These are shock absorbing grips. They got a nice fat kind of hold to them. Single lock on, which I think is a great improvement. They come in black, blue, gray, and red. So that's pretty cool. And then the other grip we have here is the Spank Grip 33. So this is my new favorite grip. We've sold a couple of these. They have tapered ends. I'll show you guys close up. Tapered ends. And again, we have a video on these going a little bit more in depth. Nice finger holds there. A thumb pad. And then, as you can see as I get closer, see those ribs have little circles, kind of makes them a little bit more stable. Really great. So these are our two popular gloves right now, the Grip 33. The Grip 33 is going to come in a host of different colors as well. So check those out, pretty neat. So jumping into brake pads, we have a lot of options. So first off, we stock the Jaguar brake pads here. Your local bike shop ideally will have brake pads for everything that you need. It's a good idea to pull your brake pads out and bring them with you into the shop. That way we know we're getting you the right brake. If you just come in and say, oh, I've got Shimano XTs, depending on what generation, that can make a difference. So there's about 3 or 4 different kind of pad sizes that Shimano could be. So keep an eye out for that. Most of your entry-level bikes, your Tektros, your base level Shimanos, kind of your 200 series, most of your 2-piston brakes from Shimano are all going to be like a B05. Shimano's got a bunch of different numbers and stuff. You can look that up online. I'm not going to get that detailed into this. But basically you have 2 different compounds. So you're going to have either a, let's see, these are both extremes. I may not have grabbed any resins today. So I'll get you guys close up. You're going to have an organic compound, or resin is what some companies are going to call it. Jaguar calls it organic. The organic is going to be the quietest. That's going to be best for kind of just typical cross-country riding. You're not going to get a ton of bite on it. It's just going to be a nice, easy on-off kind of feel. But yeah, they're not going to do real well when wet. It is a resin, so use a resin to hold the organic materials together. That resin does not like water. It also doesn't like, if you go ride at Shepherd or you go ride somewhere downhill and you're heavy on your brakes, if you overheat your resin pads, you overheat that resin in there, those pads are cooked and they're just always going to kind of be loud and they're going to need to be replaced. So if you're real heavy and hard on your brakes, if you're doing longer, steeper descents, then maybe look into something semi-metallic. So a semi-metallic or metal, the semi-metallics or metals are going to be, as they're going to have metal mixed in. So these can withstand a little higher heat. They do transfer more heat into your brake fluid, or less heat into your brake fluid than an organic compound would. So these are going to be better for maybe a little bit steeper descents. They're going to handle water better. They might be a bit noisier, so you might hear them squeal a bit more if they get wet. But they're going to last longer in wet conditions, so maybe good for the winter time. This is a good all-arounder. It's going to have a little bit more bite than the resin, so if you're late to break-in, then semi-metallics are going to be a way to go. And then from there, I mean, you've got sintered pads, which are, kind of how they bake things together, I suppose. But those need to be heated up a little bit more in order to really work effectively. So keep that in mind. Also, especially if you have an entry-level bike, if you're looking at brake pads, take a look at your rotor. Make sure your rotor can take something else. A lot of them are going to say resin only. So as we move to either metallic pads or sintered pads, those are going to eat up your rotor faster. So keep that in mind. Something important to note, again, entry-level bikes, they're going to say, resin only on a more entry-level rotor. So you don't want to overstep your bounds there. We'll keep moving here. So yeah, a lot of different options on the brake pads. Semi-metallic and resin we kind of went through pretty well. If you go to like the Pro line from Jaguar, or even the, what do they call this? Whatever these gold ones are. They'll use different backing material. So if it's got a steel back plate, that's going to be twice as heavy as something with an aluminum back plate. So a lot of times when you're looking at the difference between, a $17 and a $29 brake pad, it's going to be what materials are they using as a backing plate. Sintered pads are typically going to be more expensive. Metallic pads are typically going to be more expensive. The resin, basically they just use a resin like press those pads together. There's baking processes that go into the semi-metallics and sintered pads. So you pay a bit more for that. And then again, they may use, your organic brake pads here. This is just going to be a steel backing, where once you get into the semi-metallic, the Pro version, this brake pad is half the weight. And I can even feel it here in the package, the weight difference between the two. How much does that matter? I don't know. I mean, you're pulling your lever, and your lever is, it is noticeably heavier. It is literally half the weight. This almost feels like I'm just holding packaging, and this I can tell there's something in there. So that's interesting. If you want to save weight on your bike, if you want your lever pull to be lighter and the hydraulic fluid in there having to do less, then go with the Pro version. So noticeably different. Yeah, more brake pads. So yeah, bring your brake pads into the shop if you need new ones. If you have a more entry-level bike, again, these Shimano BO5s. I like Jaguar. I think they're really great. Shimano are fine. And then your XTs are going to be like your J05s and stuff like that. Those guys are going to have sometimes the cooling fins. And again, cooling fins are just helping pull the heat into those back plates and then up into the fins. And then from there, they're obviously... they've got all the little lines there to help give more surface area for the air blowing by to cool that brake pad down. So, if your brake pad's overheated, again, sometimes there's just, if you overheat them once, they're just cash. So you have to replace them. They're not going to work very well. They're going to be really loud. They're going to glaze over. Or what really is the kind of more expensive air there is if you overheat things, your rotors are going to overheat. And they're going to warp. So that can be more pricey. Your brake pads, maybe you can get them as cheap as $15 if you're going organic, $30 for the more higher end stuff, or maybe a brand specific. I think all the SRAMs are all like $30. But the rotors are going to cost you $50, $60. So Don't do that. Make sure rotors are big enough. You know, the bigger the rotor, the more heat can get dissipated around it, the cooler it's going to stay. So that's something to keep in mind. If you've already warped your rotors, maybe upgrade to something bigger. You're going to need a new adapter for your caliper. But go to your local bike shop, talk to people about that. FSA headset. So this is pretty common. Again, a lot of bikes are going to come up with FSA headsets. So if you have a stock bike and you've had it for maybe a year, you rode in less than ideal conditions, then now is the time to change those headset bearings. If it's feeling grindy, again, we have a video over on our page about that. So the FSA, it's not going to be easy to get into. FSA uses a 45-degree angle on the bearing, so you need to make sure you get their special FSA 45. You'll be able to read, so pull your old headset out first, clean it up, look at it, and see what bearing you're using. It'll have numbers on there. This one is a 1.5 36 degree by 45 degree. So when you go to FSA, maybe you'll find a 45, but this is on a lot of the Marin bikes. One of the more common headsets we see, typically everything's integrated if you have a newer bike within the last few years, and it's going to be 1.5 ton at the bottom, or a 52. So this is a 45-degree angle, which is what you need for FSA. If you're switching to FSA or from FSA to something else, you need to knock out those cups. You need to put a new crown race on. There's a whole thing to it. So pull your bearings, read the side of them if you haven't gotten them too rusty yet, and then order the same bearing to place back in there and install with a little bit of grease. So we've got those videos on there, but most of you are going to be on a 45-degree bearing, so it's going to be different. You need to look for that 45-degree bearing, and that's the angle. Oh, I'll just open it. God bless me. So again, we have a video on how to actually change these out, but this angle here, right there, this little flat area is, oopsies, yeah, that's 45 degrees, and that's going to be different than, let's say, like a King Creek or something along those lines. So this is a King Creek 40, bottom bearing 52 mil. If you are running a King Creek and your headset bearings are kind of inside the cup on the bottom, they're probably going to be a 52. If it's King Creek, then this would be just your standard bearing, and they don't even tell me what degree that little angle is there. It's not 45 though, so we do know that. But this one here, this angle here, this section is a 45. So that's the key part. Most of you guys are going to have FSAs on your stock bikes. So this is the bearing you need. Marin most commonly ran the 36 degree, 45 degree. So 36, I don't know what angle that is. It's another, it's this inside angle here. So the inside angle is 45 or 36, 45. But the 45 is going to be the key part that you guys are looking for. It's going to be different than all your other headset bearings. So there's that, guys. Look up those other videos so you know how to do your brake pads and you know how to do your headset. Yeah, that's it. We got some shift levers from Shimano. Bike locks, make sure you're using those. What else do we got in here? Handlebars, get some high-rise bars. We've seen a lot of customers coming in looking for higher-rise bars and kind of inquiring what they should do. Our advice is always get a 35 to 40 mil rise. You're going to have 800 mil wide bars to start with. Try that out, see how it goes for you. You're going to want to trim those down most likely, but you need to measure your stem clamp diameter here. So this is going to be 35 mil or 31.8 on mountain bikes. All the ends are going to be the same, 22.2 on every bike. So don't worry about that part. Just worry about this. So this is going to be a 31.8 or 35 mil. So you'll need that. Now you can put it on any you know, your steerer is always going to be the same 1.1 on your bike. So feel free to, you know, if you're buying a stem and bar combo, even if you're coming from a 35 mil, you can always go to a 38 mil. So just make sure you're buying the stem and the bar where they'll go together, and whatever combination of those, they will go on your fork steerer, which is going to be an 1.1. That's common across the board. It's just this diameter here on our handlebars that will change. So high rise, swing those bars forward and get that angle into your shoulders. Again, we have a bunch of other videos on that. So if you guys subscribe and like the page, then you can sort all that out for your bike. And we get a lot of feedback on stuff like that. Customers, you know, they'll come in, I'll typically have a 30-40 minute conversation with them about their cockpit setup, or you know, we had somebody coming in getting chamois from beneath today. So we'll talk about these things, and then I get immediate feedback. Within a couple of days, people are pretty stoked. Nobody else really cares to hear about their bike, so they always do come back in and let me know their thoughts on upgrades that worked out. Getting a higher rise set of bars and a shorter stem is always a surefire way to establish confidence if you're somebody who's maybe not feeling fully confident on their bike or feeling like something's off. That can kind of put you in a more powerful, more comfortable position. It's going to make the front wheel rise easier, which I think is great even for climbing. I don't care, I'm slow no matter what. So rise them up, shorten back, make that bike more confident, make it more fun to ride. Subscribe, like it, and if you need bars or stem, go to mtbshed.com and we will happily ship them to you.